Howdy folks, welcome back to another Wu transmission. Today we have another slapper. We're going to be talking about a very Confucian, I believe it was Lao Tzu, creator of the Tao Te Ching, the Tao, who coined the term Art of Effortlessness. So we're going to be exploring this and how that is directly correlates to the law of attraction, right? Before that, a funny story to start us off from this morning, and a little idea that I'd like to transmit or communicate to you. So this morning I was sitting having my coffee in my pajamas again. This is about 3 months now that I've been in these, something like that. And so this is the funny thing, right? So the idea of look good, feel good. Well, no, it's look good, it's feel good, look good, right? So in respects to the law of effortlessness, in this slideshow that you're about to hear, put me all of 2 minutes to put together, 5 minutes maybe, and 5 minutes jotting notes. Does the lack of editing, it's funny, a polarity, edit and flow are the same thing on opposite ends of the polarity, right? By adding fancy edits and all these effects and stuff, does that actually add anything to what I'm trying to convey here? No. If anything, it's just extra noise. It distracts from it. So the law of effortlessness, life is easy if you let it be, right? And on the pajama note, the feel good, look good, right? Unfortunately, and this is the true fact of life, people spend more time looking in the mirror each day than will have done, having done this video and putting it all together. And that is ridiculous and sad and unfortunate. We have to feel compassion for these people because they're too worried about how other people perceive them. And the funny thing is, the people don't actually care, especially if they're your friends. They don't care how you look, how you smell, or maybe, or whatever. They care about you. And that's all that matters. You, okay? So bear that in mind. Take some comfort, take some solace in that thought. Now, funny synchronicity from this morning. I was having my coffee, as I normally do, in my pajamas with Norbert, and my friend Dennis, an older gentleman from the Jewish community where I live, he comes over and sits with me each morning, and we were spinning a yarn, and he was sharing some stories about some time in prison that he had had. And he asked me, he's like, how have you never been in prison? Well, lol, I've never done anything to go to prison, duh. But I had mentioned that I had a pretty gnarly DUI a few years ago. And what happened was I drove when I shouldn't, take full accountability for it. I fucked up, so, and I'll get to this later on mistakes, but look, I fucked up. I was found by 3 police cars and 6 policemen knocking on my window at 6 a.m., passed out over the wheel. Not a good look. And I was fucked up. And they tested me, and I was so retarded that I probably broke the machine, or the machines didn't register. So this is why I haven't been in a holding cell or anything, because they took me to the hospital to give me blood and urinalysis. And ironically enough, that was exactly 3 years ago to the day today, and that was the last time I got my hair cut. So that's funny. But my friend, he said to me, he's like, well, you must have been struck up the arse by a rainbow when you were born. That was a quip to say how lucky you are. And so here's the synchronicity. A, my father is Lucky Phil. But to really synchronize this in, what is the lucky number? 7. That is God's number. So G, the 7th letter of the alphabet. A rainbow has 7 colors in it. 7 notes in an octave. 8 octave, I know, but there's 7 notes in it. 7 noble metals, 7 noble gases, 7 ruling planets, 7 days of the week. 7 is God's lucky number, if you want to coin it like that. I happen to be born on the 7th of the 12th, right? 7th of December. This year is Year of the Fire Horse in the Chinese zodiac. That is 7 of 12 symbols in the Chinese zodiac. What month is it? July. It is the 7th of 12 months this year. And another funny little thing. My mum took a photo of the TV guide back in these days, back in 92, when I was born, of what was on. And the movie that was playing when I was born was called The Seventh Sign. Now, if you IMDb this is even more synchronous and even more funny. It is a story about a reincarnation of Jesus to warn about the apocalypse. I'm not saying anything, by the way, but it's pretty funny. I mean, I look maybe a little bit like that, and I released a video on the apocalypse just the other day, and it's not a warning. It isn't happening, right? And there's nothing to be afraid of. It is actually a very good thing. It means an unveiling. But I thought I might share with that story with you. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so intention, creating your own luck. So, and what is justice, right? Justice is not law, as we've discussed. In Mechanisms of the Matrix, what is law? Law is just policy, club policy. We live in a corporation, not democracy. But the universe is just, it is a quantum computer self-organizing according to higher virtues, higher principles of mind, higher faculties of mind, right? So when your intention is good, when you want what is best for the world, and therefore yourself, because you are the world in that regard, this creates your own luck. Lucky number 7, right? So intention, and it's very difficult to build this trust in the universe if you don't have it in yourself, right? Because you are the universe experiencing man. It's paradoxical like this, right? So it's very important to trust that, and think of it like this. When people say, okay, what do you want in life? Oh, I want to be rich. Well, no, you don't want to be rich. If you're rich, what would you do if money and time weren't an object? That is what you want. You don't want the money. That's an abstraction. You want what you would do with the money. What would you be doing? So this is how to kind of think. This is magical thinking. How to manifest, right? So if your intention is good, pure, and you want to create, because we are creators, what would you be doing if money and time were not an object? Well, this video coming up is how to bring that to the now, because there only ever is a now. The Wu Wei. I've explained this on my TikTok before. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned it on my YouTube. But I signed off with Wu Wei, right? So what is Wu Wei? Well, Wu Wei is a central philosophy, essentially, of the Tao, central principle of the Taoist philosophy. It roughly translates to energy follows the path of least resistance, okay? Now, it's like, be like water. I think Bruce Lee or something said that. Why? Because when it rains on top of a mountain, how does the water get back to sea? It follows the path of least resistance, okay? And on that note of the sea, I did another little TikTok, which I might share with you today. It's like, think of us as a wave in the ocean. We are not separate from it. We are a part of it. Now, does a wave get all stuck up and look in the mirror, getting all insecure about why he didn't break the same way as the other two in front of him? No, because it knows its role. It plays along, okay? So this is what the Wu Wei is. It is the art of effortlessness, letting it happen to you. Now, what is this way? Mind you, all roads do lead to Rome. If we're talking about the spiritual attainment of enlightenment or whatever, there isn't just one singular path to it, as I've discussed in previous videos. But I do want to note for people getting caught up on like the role of the monk or like the ascetic path that is going without sort of thing. I personally don't believe that is the best way, right? In fact, I can't think of a more egoic pursuit than to want to have nothing when you actually want something. There's an irony in that, It's designed to break down the ego, to rid you of wants perceived as need, but ultimately it isn't the only way. So I just wanted to bring that to attention. Now, mistakes. The biggest mistake in life is not making any. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I've made some pretty big ones. Okay? The risk is not taking risk. People go through life afraid to make mistakes. Well, the universe rewards those willing to make them. Okay? This is fearlessness. This is just the subtle art of not giving a fuck, right? Give it a shot. Why not? What is the worst that can happen? You fail, you get rejected. You try and pick up a girl and you get rejected. What's the worst that can happen? She says no. Whatever. All right? Let it happen. Okay. Life happens to you. You don't happen to it. So the idea of presence, stillness, the now, is you allow what you want to come to you. You don't go to it. Because if you are universe experiencing man, you are all that is. Then if you are chasing something, this is the energy of scarcity, right? Because you feel as if you're inadequate or insufficient or insecure, you aren't it already. When you understand if you are chasing it, you are just chasing your own tail. You're an eye trying to look at itself, a knife trying to cut itself. It doesn't work like this. It comes to you. And it's funny, the saying, oh, that sounds too good to be true. Well, this is the only example I can think of in which this is actually true. Okay? Food for thought. Mastering nothing. Okay, again, same sort of principle. One must master nothing before they can achieve anything, because nothing is part of anything, right? And I don't mean doing literally nothing, but get good at just not feeling like you need to do anything. Just being content with what is. This is the present moment. Live in the now, okay? Because this is where all unlimited inspiration, unlimited creativity, all inspiration lies is in the now, in a present moment. If you're thinking, you're not receiving, right? Thinking and thought are opposite ends of a polarity. If you're actively thinking, you're not in a receiving mode to receive inspiration and thought. You don't come up with your thoughts, you receive them. Why do we receive the best thoughts in the shower or on a walk? Because we're probably not thinking. So the idea is to stop thinking. Weird, I know. And true power. Okay, what is true power? It ain't what they tell you it is. True power is conviction in your own beliefs, a knowing, a sense of knowing, and comfort in the uncomfortable. Okay, it's being fearless of the unknown. We all live in a rush. We're all trying to do this before that happens. Well, what is that happening? Well, A, it's out of your control. Shit happens. So the idea is to enjoy every moment. Now, if you live in I call this like a futureless vision, you aren't living in an outcome-focused life, I spoke in a couple of videos prior, seeing life as art. It's like if you dance, you don't dance to end up from square A to square B. You dance to dance, and life is like this. And painting is like this. The second the art becomes outcome-focused, that is doing it for someone else or doing it for money, an outcome, the art suffers. You know this in all your favorite music artists, okay? So the idea is embracing the unknown, not being fearful of it, okay? And remember, we don't die. So you don't need to worry about that rush before you die, because that's what everyone's scared of ultimately. They're afraid of the unknown. The ultimate unknown is death. So they're afraid of that. They're trying to achieve all this before that. Well, if you know that doesn't happen, then you stop worrying about that. And then everything else starts to happen. Work and play. Another polarity. These are two things, two sides of the same coin, okay? Work doesn't exist if you're playing all the same. Like, if you're doing what you love, it isn't working, you're playing. If you're doing what you want to do, that is not work, that is play. You don't need to suffer for money, okay? People don't like to hear this, but if you're doing truly what you want to do and what you love, you let spirit act as a vessel through you, right? We spoke in an episode or two prior about what a messiah, a moshkaya, actually literally translates to, and it is a vessel. When you understand our body, our human body, is a quantum computer used by spirit, our eternal spirit being, our conscious spirit, as an interface to, as a vessel to interact with reality itself. It is an interface, it's a filter. This is the vessel for the spirit, okay? So the idea of doing nothing is letting it work through you. You don't do it, you let it do it for you. It's much easier. You don't have to do it. There's no effort. And it's often of a far greater quality than what you could possibly do, your ego could do, okay? Like a good example is in Plato's Republic. He manages to incorporate the golden ratio, phi, 1.682 for whatever it is. He encodes that at exactly that ratio in the book. The human mind can't possibly do this. This is a greater force. This is, so God, nature itself, this is the force of nature working through you, okay? When you cede control, you embody the force of nature, right? Burning bridges. This is an interesting one. So my parents and I are moving into a place down the road, and we recently just chucked out an old couch that we'd had for 30 years. Bear in mind, a lovely couch and an expensive one. And my dad was pretty cut up with it. He had an attachment to this thing. But if you don't get rid of rotten fundamentals, nothing new can grow. Okay, so you get things you rid them at the root issue. So we're looking right now on a more macro lens, systemically, of the system itself. You can see, you can feel things moving, changing. People are waking up to, okay, well, who are these people that are governing us? Who are these idiots running policy? Like, this isn't right. It doesn't feel right. It hasn't felt right. That's why we're all in ill mental health. So people are waking up to this. You need out with the old to bring in with the new. Don't be afraid of the unknown, okay? Trust that you can't even know how good it can possibly get, okay? But you need to let that happen. You need to let go to let that happen. Anyone watching the football? Yes, me, please. Would have seen the England-Argentina semi yesterday morning, my time. Tuchel, I'm sorry, but he absolutely fumbled this one. And this happens all the time in football. I mean, it happens, there's many good examples, but I'll use the football analogy as it's present in my mind. Going 1-0 up, they had it all to play for, and they go into defense mode. They let that happen, okay? So what is the best defense? It's offense, okay? Keep going. Keep with the flow. Keep it moving. Keep moving forward. If you're not facing any resistance, if you're not in anything that you do, right? Like, I'm not getting that many views in my videos or anything. Like, it's been a tough slog. I've worked hard, and it's like, be very easy to get beaten down saying, oh, well, why hasn't this gone viral or blown up yet? When I genuinely believe it deserves to. Well, you know, if you're not facing any resistance, you're not moving forward. You know, if you've got wind blowing in your face, at least you're going the right way. You know, if the forces that be are letting you go along with it, there's something weird there, okay? So if you're doing something great, expect resistance. This is normal. I forgot my little video. So Hermeticism. I'm not going into the philosophy of Hermeticism. I mean literal solitude, okay? People are afraid to be by themselves. When you become your own best friend, you're never lonely. You know, and that isn't to say I don't relish company or you won't relish being around others. Of course you do. But I've got two brilliant quotes just to leave this episode on. So one with a Nietzsche quote I saw just earlier. He who delights in solitude is either a wild beast or God. It's pretty funny. And now, this quote is not exact. This is just recall. I thought it was Dostoevsky who said it. I'd rather be lonely than spend time with men of many faces. And this is in reference to, and we all know them, those who like to keep up appearances. You know, oh, I got married and I had kids because that's what we're meant to do when we're meant to do this. So it's a continual keeping up of appearances. It's an act. And it ain't natural. You know, so I would rather spend time getting high, hanging out in my pajamas, especially when it's cold and rainy outside like it is now, than putting on these appearances, feeling as if you need to. That is a fallacy. And that is not the Tao. That is not the Wu Wei. Okay? So, on that note, Wu Wei.